Hey everyone, George here, and welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about a subject that's going to be kind of controversial. I kind of hesitated to bring this subject up, but I thought it was very important because it's a reality. Um, 3-4 years ago when COVID hit and we were in lockdown, this hobby became huge because people were looking for something to do. They were looking for something meaningful in their lives. People that had previous experience with keeping fish were going back into the hobby because it gave them a purpose, something to do, brought them closer to nature. And also, many channels popped up on YouTube, such as mine. And all this information was out there on how to care for your fish, how to cycle a system, what kinds of fish you should have, how to scape in an aquarium, how to do all these different things that were important to the hobby. And then COVID went away. Now the problem that we're facing is a real danger that the hobby itself is going to be in some serious trouble. And I don't mean just from the perspective of YouTube channel people like myself. I don't make money on YouTube. I have a business that I run, and this is a hobby for me. So it's not something that I'm talking about for me, but there is a danger out there of people getting bored because they're getting back out into the world and they're doing things, and there is a danger of people getting bored with this particular hobby and not getting the interest that we had during COVID, and having this hobby sort of die off. And that's a real fear that I've been having for a long time. I knew that that was going to happen, and we're already starting to see the infancy of this potential problem coming up here, I think over probably the next year. And if you don't have a great idea and you haven't made a niche in the YouTube world out there as to what you're offering up, you have a real potential problem of going out of business, because there's only so many people that can talk about the same things over and over and over again. Now the problem that I see out there is there's a lot of channels that are doing the same thing and they don't offer anything else. In other words, they don't talk about how to care for fish as much as they used to. They don't talk about the kinds of fish that you should put in an aquarium with other types of fish. There's all kinds of subjects that are being sort of avoided because people are trying to make it their channels really fly on just a couple of different things. Now the problem with that is it's going to crash and burn at some point, because there's only so many times you're going to watch somebody scape a tank. There's only so many times you're going to watch somebody, move an aquarium around and do different things with it, tear it down, build it back up, whatever. There's only so many times you're going to do that before you get tired of it. Now, what I've been trying to do with this channel, and this is where I separate myself from everybody else, or not everybody, but there are a few people out there that are like me. Father Fish is one of them, to name one person that I can name right off the top of my head. And there's several other people out there that are really offering up some real serious information about the hobby that is important and is going to benefit you as a fish keeper. Now, if you are doing the same thing over and over again and you're not coming up with any creative ideas about what to do with the hobby, or potential problems or things that offer up some real solutions to issues that people may be having with their fish tanks, then what people are going to do is they're going to walk away from the hobby because they're going to think it's too complicated. My goal on this channel has always been to teach people about fish keeping and to also tell them when they have problems what to do about that to make their lives a little bit easier. If this hobby becomes complicated to the point where people say, okay, COVID's over, I want to get back out in the world, I can't leave my fish tanks because I want to go travel or whatever, what am I going to do with them? If you do end up in a situation like that, you're probably going to walk away from the hobby and just say, it's not worth it to me, and tear your tank down and try to sell it for whatever you can on whatever social media channel out there that you can sell it on. And the bottom line with that is that would be a very sad thing to have happen, because fish keeping is a very beautiful hobby, as you know. If you are watching this particular video, you're watching it because the title itself tells you about the dangers of what could happen to this hobby over the next year. And if that concerns you and whatever, then we need to figure out ways in which we can make this particular hobby more interesting on YouTube. And I'm not talking about there's going to be a certain amount of people that are always going to keep fish. That's always the way it has been. But there's ebbs and flows to this hobby, and the problems that go with those ebbs and flows are that many times people just walk away from it because they're bored with it, because there's nothing new going on, or they've had a major problem with a crash in their tank or something like that, and it's just that final straw for them, and they just walk away from it. Now what I want to do is make sure that you understand what this channel is all about. This channel is not about showing you how to scape. I very seldom show you how to scape a tank. I don't think I've done it maybe more than 2 or 3 times. And that's fantastic for the guys that do that stuff really well. Now I consider myself a pretty good scaper, but I don't consider myself a pro at it, so I don't tackle that particular part of the hobby and blow it up all over the screen with the information that I put out as far as the video content that I do. And the reason I don't do that is because I'm only average at it. I leave that to guys like George Farmer and MD Fish, James Finley. I mean, there's a bunch of guys out there that do that stuff rather well, and I'm not one of them. So the bottom line is I think that what I have always tried to achieve with this channel is trying to help you as a hobbyist get the most out of your hobby by showing you how to do things correctly, how to prevent things from happening, how to care for your fish in a way that makes it easy on you. Because let's face it, the reality is that once we start to see things open up even more, and people are getting out and about more, traveling and doing more things, unless there's another pandemic or something like that, people are going to start to walk away from this hobby pretty quickly. So I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to make sure that people understand that my channel is really not centered around one particular thing. It's centered around a whole bunch of things that are very important to the hobby and very important to people out there who may or may not understand exactly how fish keeping works. So if you're a beginner in the hobby, or you're somebody that's been in the hobby and you've been kind of lukewarm about it for years, and the tank's been sitting over in the corner collecting algae, and you don't change the water very often and whatever, and you want some ideas on how to make those things easier for you and more enjoyable for you, this is the channel for you. And I'm not trying to blow up my channel to make money off it, because I'm never going to make money on this channel. That's a reality. And I know that because I work at a business where this could never pay me what that does. So I understand that. So the bottom line is that I'm making this video for people who want to go to a channel where they can get information about what is best for them in this hobby and know that I'm going to have some answers for you. Now, I've got over 506, 507 videos out there, somewhere in that range, and a lot of those videos talk about very important subjects that are going to keep your fish healthy, are going to keep you interested in the hobby and make things easier on you. Now, things are forever evolving in our world, and the same thing is happening in this hobby. If we don't pay attention, though, then we tend to get left behind. Now, what I'm going to try to do over the next few months to keep you interested in this particular channel is to offer up some things that nobody else does. Now, what that is, I don't know exactly what that is, but the bottom line is I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to make sure that if you subscribe to this channel, that you are going to get what you are spending your time on. I don't want you to come to this channel and expect something out of it and then be disappointed and find that, you know, all I'm doing is showing you a bunch of fish. Now, occasionally I'm going to do that just because that's something I like to do. I like to show off the beauty of my tanks, something that I've achieved. But I also want to make sure that you understand that my videos are not centered around just scaping tanks or showing you beautiful tanks that you may feel are beyond your abilities or whatever. I want you to feel like you can do this in a way that does not make you feel like you're inadequate in any way. Fish keeping should be enjoyable. It should be something that brings you closer to nature, gives you a certain sense of nature in your home, or if you are doing this for a living, in other words, if you have a gallery or if you have a small mom and pop pet store or whatever, then this is the channel, like I said, where I'm going to give you ideas on how to do all these things better and how to make sure that you're doing things in the hobby that are bettering you all the time, so that you don't get into a situation where you get bored with it. That's what the main focus of this particular video is to make sure that you understand that my particular channel is going to offer you things that are going to keep you from being bored, because I'm going to offer you up basically a little bit of everything. And when I say a little bit of everything, I mean whatever, not whatever's in vogue at the time or whatever's popular at the time or whatever, but I'm going to offer up things that are important to the hobby, that are going to make it, like I said, easier for you, more enjoyable for you, and also make you feel like you are accomplishing something by keeping fish. Keeping fish is not for just everybody. It's something that you have to have a passion for. If you don't have a passion for it, then this video is not for you, and I'm sorry that I'm wasting your time. But the bottom line is that if you're looking for a channel where somebody is going to offer you some real answers about your problems with your with the hobby, if you have problems and you want to stay in the hobby, this is the channel for you, because I'm going to be that person. I'm going to try to be the guy that has the solutions, that has answers for different kinds of things. I wish I would get more comments, to be honest with you. I wish I would get more questions on my channels, because the bottom line is that I can see, like I said at the beginning of the video, I can see there's a drift away from the hobby right now, and within a year we could be in some serious trouble out there. Now, if my channel went away tomorrow or whatever, it's not going to put me in the poorhouse or anything, because like I said, I don't really make any money on this. As you can see from the volume that I do okay. I have a following. But from the volume that I do, you can see that I'm not making any money on this. I'm not doing this just because I feel a need to try to bring in a few dollars or whatever. The bottom line is I'm doing it because I think it's important to help people out in the hobby that are just getting started. People are always going to buy fish tanks. Pet stores are always going to be around. I was in a store the other day and I took a pulse really on what was going on out there, and aquarium sales are down about 20% right now. That's pretty significant drop from the COVID days. We're talking, the last 3 or 4 months. This is something that is the trend in some of these big box stores. And I've talked to some people at PetSmart. I've talked to people at Petco, and those stores aren't going to go away because they don't cater just to tropical fish. But the bottom line is there is a sense that the aquarium industry and the fish keeping hobby is sort of drifting a little bit, and the reason for that is likely it was just inevitable because we were saturating ourselves with this stuff while we were in lockdown or in COVID, and it was just inevitable that when COVID went away, the people were going to get back out and be doing things and not wanting to be saddled with a fish tank or the hobby any longer because, let's face it, they had things to do. They wanted to get out of the house and they want to get out and do things. Now, interestingly, just as I was getting ready to upload this and talk about this, I saw someone else who's a much bigger channel than I am, much bigger than I will ever be, talking about a very similar issue. And in fact, it was pretty darn close to being exactly what I'm talking about. So I want you to understand that on this channel, we're always going to try to make it interesting for you. I'm always going to be there to help people. I try to do that. I have several people out there that work with me, and I am in contact all the time trying to get them going in the hobby and make it more interesting for them, make it easier for them, and making it something that they enjoy. Because let's face it, if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to stick with it, you're going to give it up, and then people walk away from fish keeping, and that would be a very, very sad thing if we saw a huge drop in the hobby. Because the reality of it is there is so much technological stuff going on in our lives all the time, and we're hustling, bustling, whatever. And it's kind of nice to come home to a beautiful discus tank or angelfish tank or a community tank that has lots of varieties of different fish in it. The industry offers up so much stuff today that it's probably the easiest that it's ever been to keep fish right now. So if you're talking or thinking about getting into the hobby, or you're talking to people about the hobby and you're thinking about getting into it, know that this kind of channel like mine is going to offer up a lot of opportunities for you to figure out how to get started in it, how to maintain it, and how to keep going and making it interesting to you for the long term. Now, I hope I didn't freak some people out, because the reality of it is, those who are trying to make money off this channel, there's a certain niche out there that a group of people have, and they have gobbled up that niche pretty well. And then there's those who are trying to find their way because they've pretty much shot all their bullets on this subject, and they don't know what else to talk about. And that's where the real danger comes in, is when you lose subject matter to talk about this particular hobby, fish keeping, and you don't have anywhere to go. That's when things start to go bad. So for those who are dependent on it, I don't want to see those people get harmed by it, because the bottom line is they have something to offer as well. But I want you to understand that this channel is always going to cater to the needs of people who are in the hobby and are trying to keep fish because they love and have a passion for fish. And that's really what it should be all about. If you're in it for any other reason, then you're in it probably for the wrong reasons. And I don't recommend that that's something that you do this for. I recommend that you get into it because you want to be into it and you're going to stay in it. Now, I don't want to piss anybody off or make anybody frustrated over what I'm saying here, but it's just a stark reality that there is going to be some rough road ahead. And the bottom line is some channels that are trying to make it on here financially, if that's what you're making your living off from, and is the aquarium hobby, and your niche is this particular kind of thing, and you don't have anything to fall back on as far as a line of work or whatever, you're probably going to have to reevaluate what you're doing with your channel, because the bottom line is there's only so many people that can do the same thing before people get bored with it, get tired of it, and just tune out, period. Turn it off and tune out. And that's, I think, what's starting to happen a little bit here. I hope that that's not going to happen long term. I hope that people will stay with the hobby. I hope that this channel will always make things interesting for you. Leave comments down below when you watch the channel and ask me questions. Ask me where I get things. Ask me how I did something. Ask me about why plants are important to a fish tank instead of plastic plants, and ask me how the hobby benefits the environment. Ask me whether wild fish are more conservation minded than fish that are bred in captivity, and that sort of thing, because there's so many subjects that we can talk about and so many things. But I need to know from you what you want to hear, not what you want to see. I mean, everybody's seen 1,000 tanks scaped. Everybody has seen these beautiful galleries. That you're never going to have that, probably. I mean, I'm not saying never for everybody, but I'm saying 99% of you who are in the fish hobby are not going to have huge galleries. Now, I have a lot of tanks that I have put together, and I do it because it's a passion of mine. I like collecting fish, and I like doing it. And if you are getting wore out with watching the same old thing over and over again, come on over to this channel, watch some of the things that I offer, and see if you get some information that really benefits you long term as being a fish keeper or a hobbyist. Now, again, I hope I haven't really ticked anyone off by making this, but there's a stark reality to it. The bottom line is this is a subject that needed to be talked about, and I have been planning on talking about it for a while, because I've been kind of seeing this kind of coming, talking to some people, and seeing, like I said, a shrinkage in the hobby, just by talking to people at some of the big box stores and whatever, and they are a huge pulse on what is going on out there. Everybody thinks the mom and pop stores are, the ones that are getting all of the action, and that's not the case. The bottom line is, if we want to get into reality, Petco, PetSmart, some of these big box pet stores that sell tropical fish and sell all the accoutrements that you need to get a hobby going, a fish hobby going, these are the guys that will be able to tell you when the industry or the hobby is taking a hit. And right now, like I said, some of these people are telling me they're down, 20 to 22%, somewhere in there, and that is a trend that is going to be very problematic long term for the hobby if people start to lose interest in it. So stay interested in it. Watch my channel. If you have questions, leave them, like I said, in the comments down below. I will always get back to you. If you look at my videos, you will see that I always try to answer questions for people. I will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours, and I'm not going to make this boring for you. I'm going to talk about things that are unorthodox, things that people don't talk about, but are very important to the hobby and can make the hobby, like I said, a lot easier on you. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. I hope this was a subject that really kind of made some people think a little bit, because there's just some reality. And what I'm saying here is there's going to be a certain amount of drop off on YouTube because of a lack of interest in fish keeping if we continue on the current trend that we're on. So let's keep it interesting and keep it fun. Thank you for joining me today. We will see you on the next one. Until then, we're out of here.